Hello, and thank you for using the TrainTrack software. In this video, we will be going over the more advanced features in TrainTrack and how to use them. Before we begin, I wanted to point out a couple of other different ways to get help from within the web interface. If you hover over Help and select Contents, you will be taken to the help files or the user manual. Here you can scroll through and see which topics have a help file associated with them. So if, for example, you want a refresher on how to create an exam, you can go to Create Exam and you'll be taken to the screen that shows you how to create an exam with step-by-step instructions on the left that are typed out and an illustration that correlates to that step on the right. So it's really easy to follow along and perform any tasks you need. If you go back to the Help Files homepage and you can't find what you're looking for, you can scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll see an option for index. If you click here, you will be taken to a screen where all the help file topics are listed in alphabetical order by the keywords. So you can scroll through, Control F on your keyboard and type in exactly what you're looking for. So let's say we're looking for exam help, type in exam and you can find everything that relates to exams. The other option would be to go through the knowledge base articles and support tickets. So if you have an issue that is more technical, maybe you have a question about user permissions, or if you see an error and you're not sure how to resolve it, you can always go to support tickets and knowledge base and type in part of a couple of keywords of what you're looking for, maybe part of a message you're seeing. So let's say you want to know more about user permissions, you can type that in the search and then go and click on the results that fit your needs most. And on the screen, you will see exactly which user permissions are available in TrainTrack and what they have permissions to do. So a lot of times you'll also notice that there will be either a PDF included or link to a YouTube video. So if you click on that or paste that link into your browser, you will see something like this. In this case, it's a PDF that explains, each interface, all the user levels, and what they can and cannot do. Alrighty, so let's go back to the web interface. All right, I also wanted to point out a feature that is new. It's not an advanced feature, but I just wanted to make sure everyone is aware that it exists and how to use it. So if you hover over employees, you will see globally update supervisors. So this is something new that's in version 13. So what this allows you to do is swap out a previous supervisor for a new supervisor. So if you have a supervisor that has 20 employees under them, you no longer need to manually update everybody manually. You can just go ahead and use the globally update supervisor feature. Select who the previous supervisor was from the dropdown of all of your active employees here, and then select a new supervisor. And now when you click on update supervisor, anyone that had the previous supervisor listed will have the new supervisor listed instead. So that will save you a lot of time and it's very convenient. All right, so let's talk about some of the more advanced features. Let's go over the series feature first. There are several different ways to use this feature, so we'll go over all those options now. First, you can use the series feature if you have several modules that you have your employees need to complete. But let's say the second in the series or module number 2 is not supposed to be required until module 1 has been completed, and then module 3 should not be required or available to complete until module 2 has been completed. If that's the case, you can use the series feature to set this up. So let's go ahead and find our modules. So these are just examples. You can select module 1 to set up the series. So you'll click on that training and click on series right here on the right-hand side. And then you'll be able to select the second in the series. So this could be any training, but for our example, let's go ahead and select module 2. Again, if you type in the first letter or first few letters of what you're looking for on a dropdown, you'll be taken to that spot on the list. Then you can select the number of days after module 1 has been completed that you want module 2 to be required. So let's say I want that to be 3 days. Then you would click on add. You're all set. Now, whenever the required employees complete module 1, 3 days after that's been completed, they will be automatically required to complete module 2. If you have a third in a series you'd like to set up, all you have to do is go to the second module and set up the series from there. So right now we're on module 1, setting up module 2, but if we click on module 2, we will go to that training and we can click on series on the right and select a third in the series. So let's go and select module 3, and then select how many days after module 2 is completed that you want module 3 to be required. So let's just select 3 again, click add, and you're all set. So now we have module 1, 2, and 3, and module 2 will not be required until module 1 has been completed, and module 3 will not be required until module 2 has been completed and it's been the number of days you have indicated in this field. All right, let's go back. All right, so we're back on module number 1. And what I wanted to point out here is once you have your series set up the way I just showed, keep in mind that you only need to add requirements for the first in the series. So for module 1, I would add all my requirements based on either job title, department, or individuals. Once you've added those requirements, you only need to add them to module 1, not 2, 3, and so on. Because what will happen is as soon as the employees that are required to complete module 1 have completed the training, and it's been the number of days you indicated on the series. So if we go back to series, we can see that 3 days after module 1 is completed, module 2 is required. Those requirements will transfer over automatically to module 2. Then once they complete module 2, once it's been the number of days indicated, that's when module 3 will be required automatically. So you do not need to worry about adding requirements for module 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth, just the first in the series. Okay, another way to use the series feature would be to use it for refresher trainings. So for example, if we have CPR, and then I want everyone required to be trained on that, but then let's say 6 months later, I want them to take a more brief refresher course, you can use series for that as well. So let's go to CPR, let's go to series. You will select the second in the series. So let's go to CPR refresher. I'm going to say 180 days, that's about 6 months. So now everyone that's required to complete CPR will be required to complete the CPR refresher once it's been 180 days since the first training was completed, which is just CPR. All right, the last way to use the series feature is if you have a classroom training that you want your employees to attend, but then you want them to also log in and take an exam to acknowledge that they actually completed the classroom training, for example. So what you can do is really similar to what we just did with CPR and CPR refresher. You can create a training called, CPR, for example, but then instead of calling this one CPR refresher, you can call it, CPR practical or CPR exam. And then what you would do is go to CPR, require everybody that needs to complete it based on their job title, department, or individual requirements. And then once you've set that up, you can go to series and select CPR exam or CPR practical or whatever you would like to have your employees take. You can select days after to be maybe 1 in this case, or however many days. And then you can go ahead and schedule a class just for the CPR initial training. And then once you add completions for that class, and it's been the number of days indicated, that's when the CPR exam or practical will be required for the required employees from the initial training. So again, whether you're using this for modules 1, 2, 3, ABC, whether you're using this as a refresher or exam course, you only need to add requirements for the first in the series with that feature. So, okay, the other more advanced feature I wanted to go over is the parent-child modules. There are several different ways you can use this feature as well, so let's kind of go over them here. So let's take Microsoft Office as an example. So let's say everybody that needs to complete Microsoft Office would need to complete Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Outlook, and whatever else. What you can do is designate a training to be the parent training or the umbrella training. So in this case, it will be Microsoft Office. And then you can go add the relating child modules to this training. So in this example, let's go ahead and click on children. That's where you would set up the child modules. And here's where you can select the child module. So let's select Microsoft Excel, click add another training here. Let's go ahead and select Microsoft Outlook, click add. And lastly, let's select Microsoft Word. You can select as many child modules to be associated with the parent training. So the parent training will be Microsoft Office, and the child training records will be Microsoft Excel, Outlook, and Word. So how does it work? Is same as the series. You would only need to add requirements for the parent training, so just Microsoft Office, and that will automatically require all the children for anyone required to complete Microsoft Office. So what you can do then is either add a completion for Microsoft Office, and that would add a completion for Excel, Outlook, and Word automatically for all the required individuals that have a completion added. Or if you have your employees complete Excel, then Outlook, then Word, once the required children are completed, that's when the parent will be marked complete automatically. And now keep in mind, you don't have to have your employees complete all 3 required training if you don't want them to. If you go back to training detail, you can actually select the number of children required. So if you wanted them to complete all 3 before the parents mark complete, you can change this to 3, click Save Changes. Or if they are only required to complete 1 or 2 of the 3 listed, you can indicate that here as well. So again, you would only have to add requirements for the parent training based on their job title, department, or individual requirements. Then the child modules be automatically required. And then you can either add completions for the parent to mark all the children complete, or add completions for as many required children as you have selected here to have the parent training be marked as complete. The other way to use this feature is to substitute training one for another. So if, we can use the same example if you maybe just wanted to have one of these be sufficient enough to mark the Microsoft Office training complete, you can absolutely either delete the rest of these or select that just one of these 3 is sufficient to substitute and add a completion for the parent and vice versa. So if you ever need to delete a child module from a parent, all you have to do is click on the ID number and confirm deletion. Click on the ID and confirm delete. So now if we only have Microsoft Word listed and we only require 1 training to be completed in order for the parent to be marked complete, anytime someone completes Word, it will mark Office as complete, and anytime Office is completed, Word will also be marked complete. So you can kind of use that to substitute training one for another, or you can use it with the parent-child modules that we discussed the first way. All right, another thing to cover that's somewhat advanced is going to be importing. So if you hover over import, you can select which data type you would like to import in bulk. So you can import employee records, exam question and answers, completion records, requirements, and training records. The process is the same pretty much for all 5 of these data types. So we can just go over one for this example. So let's say I want to import several employees. I would go to import and then click on employees. First, you'll want to click in number 1 where it says click here to download the template. And this will give you the exact template you'll need to use to import the data back into TrainTrack. So once you open up that template, you can click on Enable Editing at the top. You can review the information on the instruction tab if you would like, if you have any questions or if you're curious what some of the fields mean. We also recommend watching the help video associated with this import sheet to go over how to use the import range feature in order to import quicker. And then when you're all set here and ready to import, you can click on data and start pasting in or typing in your data here. So all the last names would go in this column, first names would go in the first name column, and so on. Keep in mind that you are able to change the width of the columns, but please do not change the order of the columns or change any of the actual names of the columns or anything. Leave everything in row 1 as is, and then just edit or paste in or type in data below from row 2 and down. All right, let's go ahead and enter some data here. So of course, like I said, you can import or you can paste data, several names, several last names, several first names if you have another spreadsheet, or you can just type the data in here. So let's go ahead and first name. You can leave the ID number blank if you don't have the employee's ID number. TrainTrack will just assign a random ID number to them, or if you have their ID number, please go ahead and enter it in this column. And just keep in mind, every employee and training record in TrainTrack must have a unique ID number. So make sure that everyone has a unique ID number. But of course, you can leave it blank and TrainTrack will assign an ID number randomly. All right, for status, you can put active or inactive, or if you leave this field blank, by default, they will be imported as active employees. You can type in a department, a job title, supervisor last name and first name, or just the supervisor ID number, whichever one is easiest for you. So it could be either or both. So I'll just leave the ID number blank for now. You can enter the shift, location, employee type. Any information that you might have for the employee, you can enter it on this spreadsheet. So, right. So also, it is recommended to enter in an email address so that your employees could receive email notices once they have training due. But also, if you have your default login settings to set up to use your employee's email for either their login or temporary password, then you definitely want to have an email address listed for them the first time you import them or the first time you add them as an employee to TrainTrack if you're adding them manually. You can enter their phone numbers. Start date is also recommended because that's one of the ways TrainTrack calculates due dates. It's going to be the start date of the employee plus the training grace period, or the training release date plus the training grace period, whichever date comes later. So if you have their start date, I would recommend entering it in the start field. You can enter an end date, you can enter any information you'd like in the other field, and even paste in a link for a to link a file or folder that has all the employees' records or certificates or whatever. Okay, so then once you're done typing in all of your data or pasting it all in, for this example, we'll just keep it simple and just have only one employee, but again, you can keep adding to this. You are able to reuse the same spreadsheet over and over if you would like, and anytime someone is brand new to the spreadsheet, they will be added to TrainTrack as a new employee. But if they are an existing employee, TrainTrack will recognize that they are new and only look for any changes that may need to be made to their record based on any changes made since the last time you imported this spreadsheet. So if you wanted to change, their job title, shift location, any information on here, you absolutely can do that. Just keep, using the same spreadsheet and keep importing it in, and TrainTrack will know if someone is new or existing and if they need any changes made to their employee record. All right, so one last thing that we need to do before we import, and that is set your named range or your import range um, to make sure that the import goes through fairly quickly. So if you go to formulas, you can click on name manager and then click this little up arrow here. So all you have to do is select all of your column headers as well as any rows below that have data. So in our case, it's just rows 1 and 2 because we want all the column headers and then we want all the rows that have data below. So once you've selected that information, make sure you are including even the column headers that don't have any data underneath them. So just everything from A to T, and then down any rows that have data. Then you can click the down arrow and click close. Click yes to save changes, and then save the actual template by clicking the little save button at the top. And now you're ready to import. Again, this step will allow you to import much quicker so that Traintrack's not searching the whole spreadsheet and looking for any data on the below blank lines. So super simple, just go to formulas, name manager, click the up arrow, select all the column headers as well as all the rows that have data, click the down arrow, click close, and confirm saving that range, and then click save here at the top. Now we can go back to Traintrack and click next. Then you can click on choose file to find that spreadsheet that we just completed. I think mine's in downloads, and here it is. You're going to select the file, click upload, and then click on import. Even though it says no file chosen, go ahead and click on import. I don't know why the Chrome does that, but as you can tell, just a second later, your records have been imported. So now you can go back to your employee list. And here is that employee that we just added. All right, so the last thing to cover would be the reports. So reports are fairly straightforward and simple, but I just wanted to go over how to sort them and export them mostly. So you'll notice that some reports, mainly the ones that are the first within the category, so the complete, training completed, the due, these you'll notice that they have options to export to Excel or view as a PDF. But it's a lot quicker and recommended to simply just highlight starting from the column headers down to, as much data as you need, copy and paste directly onto Excel. So that's how you can easily export any data, either using the buttons here or just copying and pasting the needed data directly from the report you see. If you want to print, you can go to print. You can also save the report directly from here as needed just by right-clicking. And then if you ever need to sort by 2 columns, by default, everything will be sorted by the training name, then the last name, then the first name. But let's say you also want to sort by the job title. You can click on job title to see what that column name is. So you'll see order by equals title. So you'll want to use title as, instead of job title. So what you'll do is go back to how things were sorted and then just add a comma and then that column name. So in this case, it's title, click enter, and you're all set. So also, you'll see that capital ASC here, that's going to sort everything in ascending order. But if you want to sort in descending order, you can just change that ASC to DESC. So now click enter, and now it'll be sorted the opposite direction. So again, DESC or ASC, descending or ascending. And then you can select however many columns you want to sort by. So training name, last name, first name, and job title. If you would rather sort by department instead, you can click on that column header. In this case, it's called department. So you can copy that or just remember that, go back to how it was sorted before, descending, training name, last name, first name, and then title, but we want to sort it instead of title by department. put a comma, put in department, and hit enter, and now you can sort by department as well. So this is how you can sort by multiple columns in TrainTrack. You just need to click on the column header first to figure out the column name. So supervisor would just be SUP or soup. Job title would be just title. First name is first name, one word altogether. So just click on the columns you want to sort by, figure out the name of the columns, and then you can do, first name, comma, title, for example, in ascending order. Hit enter and you're all set. One more thing is whenever you are sorting, let's use a different report, for example. Let's go back to the report menu and go to complete. All right, if you know that before you even enter in your date range, if you know that you would rather have this be sorted by the last name rather than the training title, what you can do is just click on that column header first. Clicking once will sort it one way, clicking one more time will sort the opposite direction. Then you can select your date range. You can edit this if you'd like, or just click on update. And you'll now notice that everything is sorted by the last name rather than the training title. So again, if you want to sort by training number, you would click on training number first, click on the column header, and then click update on the date range. Now you'll see that it's sorting by the training number. And if I want to sort the opposite direction, I would click on number again, update, and now it's sorting the opposite way. All right. Okay, I believe that that is all as far as the advanced features. Really quick though, for administrator users, I briefly mentioned your default settings during the import session of this video. If you are not sure what your default settings for logging in are, you can go to settings and click on default login. And here you can select what you want to use as your default login info. So if you want the employees to log in with their email address, you can select email or their ID number or first dot last name, and then what you want them to sign in with, what you want them to use as their temporary password. So again, ID number, email, or first dot last name. We don't recommend using first dot last name just because some people might have two last names and they may not be sure if it's hyphenated or just a space, or there's possibly even two people with the same name. So that is an option if you'd like to use it, but we recommend using ID number or email, since those values in TrainTrack are unique to each employee. Right, so I believe that is all. If you guys have questions about anything else, perhaps any of the not so advanced features in TrainTrack, feel free to watch that video. We also have individual videos on topics that cover, even importing and adding employees, creating exams, setting up your automatic emails, and everything else. So check out other videos in our video library. And of course, feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions. We are more than happy to assist. Where you can reach out by phone, email, or the chat feature on our website. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a great day.